And Peter, happy Thursday. I'm Kiannaa Sadge, and I guide people to peace, and I am so committed to doing these videos. 366 videos every day coming to you all with a different topic to help us align to the natural laws. So the natural laws are essentially how energy runs. All energy runs in patterns. So when we can align physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, we can be more in alignment with the natural laws and disconnect from the discord and the patterns that siphon our life force. So I do this every day, and this week we're talking about the law of structure, and it's so important that we understand the law of structure, which is that everything has an instruction set and runs in accordance to that instruction set. However, with our topic today, when we're talking about abuse of power, and I'm going to talk about that in detail today, but I want to let everybody know that is willing to listen that everything is going to be resonance. So when we are in alignment, we're going to be giving off a signal. That signal is going to be operating off of the law of structure. That law of structure is going to include these geometric patterns, and these geometric patterns go to energetic receivers and transmitters. So this governs all pre-manifest and manifest fields. So when we have abuses of power, we have to resonate with it. And you might think, well, why would I resonate with something that hurts me? And that's because you simply are not aware of the natural laws and the natural laws of power. So, oh, I didn't bring my glasses. Let me see. Am I missing questions here? Let me see. Oh, I'm so glad you all are talking. Impulse, rash decisions, Daniel Brink. How others affect one's other moods. Are these topics, Peter? Am I missing it? Hey, Noel, good to see you. Are you here? Yeah, there you are. Noel, Peter, Jay, good to see you. Mick, you're here too? Good job. All right, we got some regulars here. All right, so I kind of gave the highs and lows of the law of structure. Everything is resonance. So now, when I'm talking about abuse of power, I'm speaking in general terms. And I wanted to speak in general terms because, you know, we all have a unique resonance. So I wanted to give you some energetic perspectives that are pretty much going to apply no matter what the situation is. So when we have an abuse of power, we're also going to have parasitic cords. Yesterday, I talked about do a parasite cleanse when somebody was being vulnerable, right? So when we have resonance in systems like the medical systems, there's going to be parasitic cords. How do I know? I was just working with a medical executive right before this call today. Before doing this video, I was working with somebody who was very, very instrumental in the weeds with the medical system and how infiltrated that is with parasitic cords. Now, abusive power will align with people who have parasitic cords. That means that you could be siphoned easily, essentially. Now, that happens in the spiritual realms, and then it comes into the physical body, and that's where illness will manifest. That's why it's so important if you're feeling some kind of discord within your body, and it's just a good practice for cleanliness that you do parasitic cleanses. But I don't want to get into that. The other thing that we'll go on to talk about, which is subconscious imprints. So this is stuff that you're not even aware of, right? You don't even know about it because you're not even consciously aware of the subconscious. So then how would you know about subconscious imprints? So there are ways in which the patterns will leave an imprint in your field. It's almost like a fingerprint. Just think of it like a fingerprint, but it's happening energetically. This is how energy flows. So when you're thinking in terms of patterns, you might think, well, I don't see this stuff, Kiannaa. How would I know? You wouldn't know. That's the whole point. That's how you get into these abusive relationships. Why would people be abusive towards others? Because they feed off of that. They feed off of that energy. So I thought it might be helpful to really be explicit of what kind of personal patterns you might have if you're having abusive power in your field. The kind of patterns that would run would be the pattern of personal suffering. Somehow you're resonating that suffering, those personal patterns of suffering in your field. So people who have chronic illnesses like, I don't know, what would be a chronic, bathroom issues like IBS or nervous system issues or some kind of chronic pain, that would be run patterns of suffering in your field. The other aspect that might blow your mind is bonded patterns of communication. So this might be somebody who has a bond, literally almost think of a bond like handcuffs, if you will, to silencing yourself, to biting your tongue, to not speaking your truth, almost like an oppression, right? So abuses of power will resonate with people who do these aspects within themselves. Sorry, my dog just tried to get into the refrigerator. Anyways, so abuses of power will have those four aspects. So parasitic cords, subconscious imprints, personal patterns of suffering, and bonded patterns of communication. So you might think, well, I don't have bonded patterns of communication. I just keep to myself. Oppression, suppression. It's like you're doing it to yourself. That's how abuses of power, that's how they operate. And you might think, well, how does this work in if you're a parent? If your parents were abusing their power, let's just say they lied, they manipulated, they told you untruths about your brothers or sisters, and why would they do that? Well, to cause somebody to suffer. And it's not exclusive to the one they're doing it, telling the lies about. You suffer because you don't get to have the cohesive relationship. And then when you find out the truth, you suffer because now you're seeing the truth and it hurts. So these patterns of suffering occur in all types of relationships. How does this work in business? All the time. All the time. People use authority and manipulations of power to intimidate others all the time. So, any questions about those four aspects or about abuse of power in general as it relates to energy and psychology? I'm just going to go up for questions. Good to see you, Noel. Yes, this topic came from yesterday's live stream. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Hope you and your family are doing okay. Thinking of you. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Am I a philosopher? No. Well, maybe. I like to pontificate, but usually not on live streams. I love intellectual discussions. I love discussions that cause us to evolve. So if there's any questions, mental. I did a whole series on narcissists. If you go into the live chat and then you go down, you'll see I think it was 4 parts, maybe even 5 parts on the narcissist, because there are levels of narcissistic. But the thing about narcissistic parents that is abuse of power is that oftentimes they are so insecure, they have no idea. So power is also based on perception, right? And so you obviously, if you have a parent who is so insecure that they have created this this mental fragmentation and this imbalance within ego, usually caused from some trauma of which they have not healed, you can come to them from a place of compassion and understanding and acceptance, and know that it is not your job to change your parent. It is not your job to wake up your parents. Your job is to heal your heart from the damage or the trauma that they have caused from their own pain. That's your job. So what you want to look at is, where do I need to heal? It's not about focusing on the narcissist. That's how they siphon your energy. That's how they consume your mental resources, is you start focusing on the narcissist over and over and over again, and then you become one. So you want to focus on, where do you need to heal? Imprints on the subconscious mind. So below where you are conscious, right? So in the let's just say in the pre-manifest fields. Okay? Oh, Eric, you're so sweet. Eric, how old are you? Upcycle, good to see you. I love seeing regulars in here. It makes me happy. I love that you all love this intellectual discussions as well. Yesterday, I was filled up from our discussion. Kiannaa, I work in corporate. My colleague is an old college friend. I now joined his organization, in which he is my senior in the organization. He is all the time trying to dominate you. That just might be his style. Okay, so it may not be about you, Cash. I'm just going to call you Cash. That may not be about you, and I wouldn't take it personal. I would keep business, and friendship. Those are 2 separate relationships, okay? So don't confuse or merge the 2. So his style of leadership is just one that you don't prefer, okay? And that preference is a judgment, but it shouldn't be confused with your friendship. So obviously there is a kinship that you and he have. And so what I would focus on is really our job as employees is to make our boss look good. So I would look at how you are serving his role in that job. And is that an abuse of power because he's a tyrant? Probably, but you signed up for that. So what is your lesson in that? What are you learning about business and friendship? That will help you. Oftentimes, mental is asking, so children of narcissists suffer from similar problems? Children, well, first of all, I would probably say that the narcissist hasn't been diagnosed, and that's a diagnosis. I want to get out of this name calling and this diagnosing, because it keeps people stuck from focusing on what's actually real. And what's real is trauma. What's real is abuse. And you must focus on where you can heal yourself, because you cannot heal your parent. You will never be able to heal your parent. So you must focus on where your healing needs to expand. And I don't know what problems you have, but I bet insecurity is one of them. I bet being in ego is one of them. I would bet that denial is a piece of it, So those are aspects mental that I would suggest you start to expand on. Can we control, Prince is saying, can we control our subconscious mind? We can influence all aspects of our beingness from our point of consciousness. If we are not consciously connected, we cannot influence it. So how do you become more conscious and aware? You must have pure connection to your spiritual aspects. You must have a connection to creator energy, source energy, which essentially heals all aspects. The mind does not heal. We do not heal through our mind. We heal through our heart and our access points to higher consciousness. We heal from being in alignment, okay? I hope that answers your question, Prince. Now, what I will say about the subconscious mind is because most people are not aware of the different ways in which the mind can be infiltrated, and therefore they do not think they're being manipulated, and therefore their ego goes into activation, and they're not doing an ego work. They are further manipulated. So how do you keep yourself from being manipulated? You connect with your heart, you connect with God, you connect with creation, you connect with nature, you connect with the sun, not the moon, the sun, those types of things. So I hope that's helpful. How do you deal with it and surpass his dominance of overpowering and showcasing his power? Tell him what a good job he's doing. He's obviously insecure. Most tyrants are insecure. So I have worked with some of the most powerful people in our military realms. And I will tell you that these men are very insecure. So the ego makes you feed those areas of disconnection. So it's okay to tell people they're doing a good job, to support him. I would just be supportive. That's your job as an employee. What your job as an employee, as a supporter of the mission, is to support the leader, period. So you may be having what's called an ego clash. So your ego is getting in the way of doing your job, which is to just make your boss look good and do your job. Your job isn't to like him. Like when you signed on to do that job, it wasn't about liking your boss. It's about doing your job. It's about supporting the mission, whatever that mission is for you. And if you are getting into a battle with the ego, you will lose. So I don't see him as somebody who is abusing power at this point. You're in the corporate setup. The whole setup is about abusing power. You're supposed to be a slave to the higher ups. That's how the system is set up. It's not a nice awareness to have, but it's an important awareness to have. Oh, your internet is down. Sorry to hear that. But you're here. You're here. Oh, see, my dog is, my dog thinks you're actually here. Sorry. Salvo, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Any questions about abuse of power? Just looking for questions. Cash, you have a perception he's trying to overpower you just because your ego is engaged in a battle, okay? Your ego is in a battle with your boss. You're going to lose that. It's not worth it. So drop into your heart and do your job, which is to support your boss and to do your job. You don't have to like the way he's leading you. He's not overpowering you because you signed up for that. You went into consent. That's what your job is. If you are employed and you get paid, your job is, part of that job is to abdicate you gave consent to be in a part of it. So I wonder, Cash, you probably feel like you're abdicating your personal power, but you haven't. You've just gotten into an ego battle. Release the battle. Mental, I hope that helps you. What if your parents are super tensed? Super intense? I don't understand that question. What if my parents are super tensed? Tensed? Intense? Hypercritical? I don't understand that question. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you, John Paul. Hey, hello, man. Good to see you. Oh, I love seeing you all regulars. It's so nice. I love the intellectual banter we have. You know, I do this stuff every day, all day long, and sometimes I have really exciting awarenesses and I don't have anybody to talk to. So I love this deep dive into different topics every day because it satisfies my my need to share with people who would care, you know, because most people really don't care about these types of things. Thank you, Daniel. Upcycled. These sessions are very enlightening and makes me think more. Okay. Hopefully you can think in alignment with your heart, Upcycled. And when I feel my problems are not as big as what I make them in my mind, right? The mind will make things bigger than they are. That's why we know that the mind can be manipulated. Like, I don't want to say too much about that. A man is saying, I love it. Connection with oneself is like connecting with God, right? We are a child of God. We are part of creation. So now when you know that you are part of creation, source energy, God energy, frequency, now who are you? Answer that question from that context. Who are you? Hi, Mike. Today we're talking about abuse of power. True crime. I don't want to get into political stuff too much, but true crime is really talking about an abuse of power on a global scale. And what he's saying is that he's taking responsibility for an abuse of power that he did not do. Okay? So he's saying he's a Muslim and he is ashamed for what he perceives Hamas has done to Israeli innocent people, okay? So I'm just going to use this as an example, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but I want to speak to it from a point of an abuse of power. And this is exactly when he's saying he's ashamed. This is how the parasitic cord works. This is how the subconscious imprints work. This is how we align to the suffering patterns. This is how we align to the communication patterns. He said it so simply in the context of that few sentences, and that is exactly how abuse of power manifests in a person's world, is by the exercising of those things in a way that he is not even aware. He thinks he's just posting a message in a chat on YouTube. But true crime is actually posting a message directly about the abuse of power and how it manifests in somebody who did not do any abuse of power. He is simply a man who believes in God and needs to connect with his heart and compassionately witness. We are being called to compassionately witness crimes against humanity on a global scale, period. If we do not see that from a place of compassionate witnessing, we will get looped into these feelings of and parasitic cords of ashamed, which is a very low frequency. It's a low frequency in which you resonate with, which allows these to infiltrate your field energetically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And eventually, it'll manifest in its way in a physical form, which will not be favorable to you. So, true crime. My challenge to you and everybody in this chat, there's 51 people in here right now, is to be aware of where your attention is going and to not get hooked into those parasitic cords of shame and fear and go into compassionate witnessing from your heart. That is the more powerful way in which you can heal and see and be more aware of what is actually taking place. Dakota Miller is saying, I don't like anyone. I go to work to make money. Wow. You are like many people. And that must feel really kind of weird, kind of incongruent. But you're not alone in that. I don't see a question here, but you're speaking the truth that many people feel. So I appreciate that. I would say that's a very incongruent way to live, and I would work to align that if it were me, because I'm all about being in sync, you see. Is it fine and normal being of a young age and distracted to do adult content videos? Pro Bono's asking. That is how people get manipulated. And you will get sucked into a lower frequency, guaranteed. Salvo, I don't think I've ever encountered abuse of power. I never had a boss that tried to take advantage in abusive ways. I've had bad bosses and I've had great bosses. Yeah, I would say I have had instances of people abusing power. I worked with many military officers, and they're very driven by a hierarchy, and they're certainly not used to women being in their workplace that are educated, intelligent, and smarter than them. So I've had my jobs threatened. It's a common thing. And I just witnessed them. I would call them out on what I see. And this one guy, I'll just tell you this one story. He was an MIT graduate. And I finally asked him, I was like, if you don't think I'm aware that they have special programs for you military folks to go to MIT, that you get in and you don't have to necessarily be at the high intellect that the other people. So I already knew he was a part of a special program. I had to go figure it out because I was like, how could you be so dumb? How could this dumb guy get into that program? And so I had to go figure it out because I was like, there must be some kind of special program. And there is. There is a special program for officers who are military and seen a particular way that they can get into these MIT programs and not necessarily be working with a full deck. Anyways, he called me into his office because my job at the time was consult to this process improvement. And part of that was looking at what his contract was doing and where they were over, where it could be limited, meaning I was cutting about, I don't know, $250,000 from their contract, which is a lot of money, which is a couple employees when you look at the numbers and how it impacts. And so he called me into his office, and he had his desk completely cleared, and he had the Bible on his desk, and he sat there with a straight face and tried to intimidate me consciously and tell me how I was out of line and how he was going to have my job and all these things. He sat there and threatened me completely. And I sat there and I listened and I listened. And of course, I'm like shaking inside because I'm thinking this guy has some nerve doing this to me. Like, I was in my ego too. Don't get me twisted. I was definitely like, who does this guy think he is? And I just took a deep breath and I sat in my heart and I looked at him and I said, is that a Bible on your desk? And he said, yes. And I said, and you're a Christian? And so I went into this whole how he was incongruent with what he proposed that he was believing. So anyways, I left the office, and the next day his boss had flown in, got the phone call, and his boss was flown in, and his job was changed, and he was moved, and he was not to work with me anymore. So he did not get my job, but you know, it was definitely an intimidation tactic. He was done and gone, and he was fired. But, you know, does that make me better? No. I mean, he literally, I was okay with my job going if he was going to do that. I mean, who wants to work with people like that? Okay, I don't know if that story was helpful at all, but people who threaten and intimidate others are always incongruent, okay? Always incongruent. That means when what they say and what they do is not matching, okay? Which just happens to be my forte. So you can imagine how fun that is going out with a group of people when I'm reading that energy. Parents have a lot of stress. We children don't understand yet. Stress is not a reason to abuse power. Somebody's saying, hello, Miss Kiannaa. I am new here, love your vibe, and you seem to have a positive and good person. I think I am, but thank you for being here. We're talking about alignment and specifically abuses of power. Any questions? No, this is not therapy. That's a great insight to say that I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I do energy psychology. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe. I actually help people shift patterns out of incongruency into alignment. And today we're talking about the natural law of structure and specifically how that is in alignment or misalignment with the abuse of power. We're just talking about abuse of power in general, but abuse is such a massive topic, as Peter has brought to my attention, and I'm really not sure how I'm going to approach it completely, but we're going to talk about different types of power. And I would say I would agree with you, there are lots of types and forms of power. But man is saying that power corrupts. True power is not corrupt. Inorganic power is corrupt. So true power is that which is in alignment with the natural laws. Okay? So to say that power is corrupt is inaccurate from my perspective, because power in and of itself is not corrupt. Power with ill intentions, power with abusive intentions, power with misalignment can be very corrupting. And we have seen that. We have seen that on a global scale in many ways about how people have had their intent, consent, and authority, which is also a natural law, usurped by powers because people were not aware. Pro Bono is saying your brain is not taking over. You don't have mental discipline. Pro Bono is saying about this issue of power and porn. You must understand that whole industry is about manipulation, and it's about inciting men out of their hearts and into their physical body. And that's because men are physical beings just like women are, but they are being manipulated, and you have given into the manipulation. And so you need to cut the parasitic cords. You need to cut all contact with those aspects, and you must connect with your heart and connect to spirit. Hunter is saying, I deal with abuse with one of my classmates, and it's so hard to deal with. Well, why are you dealing with it? What do you need to learn, Hunter? Let's get the learning, because learning is how you disconnect these parasitic cords. If you don't learn, you don't become aware, you stay connected. Oh, Eric, you're so sweet. No, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a doctor. I am talking about energy psychology. And if, Peter, you're so articulate, if you have a better way to explain what it is I do, please let me know, because this area of energy is so unfamiliar to many people. They try to align it with what they already know, which is a system that has been usurped, right? It's not in alignment with source or creator or energy. How do I know that? Because psychologists and psychiatrists are guided to not speak of the spirit. The spirit is where all things happen in the non-manifest or the unmanifest. Miss Kiannaa, how can a person be in sync with the world? You do not want to be in sync with the world. You want to be in sync with your personal alignment, which is in connection to God, sovereign freedom. You want to be in sync to and congruent within. That means you know your alignment, you know your triggers, you have your mind mentally disciplined, you are aware and using critical thinking. Yes, that's how we get in alignment. What can I do to overcome my fear of being poor? I want to die rich. Well, why don't you focus on living fully instead of these material ways? Why don't you try that and see what happens? I bet you money will come to you easily. Oh, you guys see the comments before I do. Thanks for your support. If there's one thing I learned on these YouTubes is that I care less about what others perceive about me, which I didn't know could happen. I thought I already cared. I really have no attachment to people's perceptions of me. And I learned that from doing these videos. I do believe in the law of attraction, which is another way of saying the law of correspondence, which is what we covered last week. But there is more than one law, and all of these laws work in communion with one another. They don't work in isolation. And one thing that the law of attraction or the law of correspondence that most people don't understand is that it is a law that is intended to be in service to humanity, not in service to self. So if you think about what most people have been taught about the law of attraction, it's about getting more material things. Well, that's not really, the law is about being in service to humanity, to the collective. Oh, Rand is saying, I find it odd that you're speaking poorly of those MIT students. You could articulate your thoughts. I really have, let me say this about higher education. That when I was working on my master's, and I was working as a consultant, I worked in collaboration with really highly intelligent people. Harvard, I was educated, and one of my mentors was a Harvard grad, and I was around a lot of Harvard and MIT folks, very smart. I work with very smart engineers of all kinds of science background. And what I will tell you is that it doesn't matter where they were educated. It does not matter. And that's what I learned, is that their level of intellect did not equal the power of the heart. So my level of respect and regard completely changed. Because when people are in disconnect from their heart, they do not support humanity in the ways that is most important, in my opinion. And I'm saying that from a place of complete humility. And I'm not saying I'm better than them. I do believe we all have our own soul path. But if people really understood the systems in which we have given such a high regard to in our societies, we would do differently. And this is coming from somebody that has a higher education. And I would say that my spiritual journey has been unwinding, unentangling all the things that I was conditioned to believe that were absolute lies. Mental. Thank you, Mental. I appreciate your compliment. I don't know about the best person, but I certainly aim to give content here that is meaningful and thoughtful and supportive and in alignment to the natural laws. Hey, Mel. I'm so proud of you for being here and doing such a good job. Everybody say, we're so proud of you, Mel. You're doing a great job taking care of your dad. Okay, Mel is saying, I felt like my daughter dealt with abuse of power the other day at school. No doubt. And I kind of shut her down while she talked about it, and I feel bad after, and I didn't know how to help her. What a beautiful awareness to have, Mel. So you could correct that really easily, Mel, by when you see your daughter today, having that heartfelt, open conversation with her, saying that you see her more clearly now and the situation she was contending with, and ask her, is there anything I could do to support you? And your daughter will feel seen and heard. Because when we're dealing with powers of abuse, we're not being seen. We're not being seen. So we all, as humans, we strive to be seen, right? That's part of our journey, is to be recognized as unique and important and relevant. Hunter Hornby is saying how to deal with a manipulative person. Well, once you see that they're being manipulative, you have conscious choice. Most people do not see manipulation. So, Hunter, since you're seeing somebody is manipulating you and others, now you have conscious choice. And if you choose to do nothing and you sit in silence, that's what's called abdicating your personal power. Okay? So don't do that. Choose to be in your power. And choose to see clearly this person who is doing those nefarious behaviors. And then choose on whether you want to continue to be in relationship with them. And if you do, see them as they are, accept them as they are and know that your job is not to change them. Your job is to recognize that you're in resonance with their behavior. So there's some part of you that resonates with people who manipulate. Mel is saying, I kind of told her to follow the rules, but I know she felt targeted. Okay, I'm going to speak from my heart to you, Mel, is that part of the conditioning of these school systems is to make these kids shut up and be submissive and compliant. And your daughter is saying, hey, Mom, something is very incongruent with what these people are doing. I don't feel good doing these rules. So see if there's some incongruence there, because your daughter is telling you, hey, Mom, something's really not right here. And Mel, what I would ask you is it more important for your daughter to follow the rules, to be submissive and compliant, or is it more important for her to use critical thinking? And I would ask yourself that question. And if the answer is critical thinking, then you want to encourage her to, and you both look at it deeper. No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I do energy psychology. Zen-Tech. And I'm not a professor, but I used to be a professor. Good to see you back here, Zen-Tech. How does stress work? Well, you asked this question. Stress is really caused by lies, deceit, and incongruencies. So really understand that that's a trigger for stress. So the best way to address stress is to be present, to be in your heart, and to give yourself a block of time where you're connecting to your heart every single day. That will reduce your stress, but it will also help you increase your awareness. When you have higher capacity for higher awareness, you can make more conscious choices, okay? And that will reduce stress. That doesn't mean you'll like what you see, okay? Don't get confused with awareness and preference. Hopefully that helped. Thank you, Peter, for being here and helping with this mods on here. I don't know what being a phone addict is. You look at your phone all the time, so you're escaping. What are you escaping from? So that's what you would do, is ask, I'm looking at my phone and I'm addicting, but what do I not want to be present to? What is so bad in my life that I need to check out, and address it that way? Salvo, I never had a problem with a girl being my boss. My girlfriend tells me what to do all the time. The only thing that I have a problem with is when I'm telling my boss the problem and she continues. Well, oftentimes, Salvo, people who bring problems often don't bring a solution. So usually bosses want a problem and a solution with the delivery. Just a suggestion. So maybe your boss isn't ready to hear what you had to say. And oftentimes employees and bosses do not see things the same way. This is called a perception, right? We have different access to different perception from the place in which we are seeing, sensing, or feeling. So she wouldn't see things the same, Salvo. So don't ask her to see them the same. Maybe see if the readiness for addressing the issue is there. And my guess is that the delivery might need to be adjusted, Salvo. So change how you are delivering the problem. And let's just be honest. I'm a change agent, and change agents have to deliver unpleasant messages all the time. But I would ask you, is it your job to deliver that message to her? And if it's not, don't do it. But if it's something that you feel it's important that needs to be addressed, and it's your job to address it, just know that, one, they may not believe you, and two, it may take more than one time before people are ready to address it. And what I find is the way in which you present the problem, if you make it her idea that she discovered the problem, chances are she'll take it up. Oh, thank you for being here, Oliver. If you have questions, please make it one sentence long. Yes. I am great, thank you. I have a busy day of clients today, but this is always, this commitment that I have to these videos every day is personally important. Okay, somebody's saying they're in the world, but not of it. No matrix system. Somehow, they're able to get into YouTube, which is a matrix itself. How to achieve above your, I don't understand this question. 100 times above your capability. I don't understand what you're asking there. Noel. Learning, oh good. Let's hear, Noel, what are you learning about parasites? Noel, especially, so we want to look at parasites not only in the physical, but in the non-physical. So they're going to start always in the non-physical. So we'll want to look at parasitic systems, Noel. And your old job, if it's what I think it is, which I'm not sure, but that would be a parasitic system. So anything that has to do with, well, I don't want to say, because I don't want to get in trouble. But you want to look at parasitic systems. You want to look at parasitic relationships. You want to look at all parasitic cords. So these would be systems that siphon your energy, okay? So what siphons people's energy oftentimes is not feeling good, right? I'm going to get sick. Oh, I need to go to the doctor. And they have it in their mind all the time. That's an example of a parasitic cord. I talk like a news anchor. Okay. I think that's funny. Oh, am I a lawyer? No, but I have an interest in law. But I would say that's another parasitic system. It's another system in which it will siphon the life force out of you, okay? That's another great system. I'm not a lawyer, no. Abby is saying it wouldn't matter. So it's all about your mind capable of. Not high expensive. It's not about the mind at all. It's all about the heart, Abby. Okay, so he's saying it's about your capability is not connected to your intellectual prowess, let's just say education. Your capability is going to be how much access you have to higher levels of consciousness. The more you spend in the mind, the more you spend in study, the more you spend in the books, which is a way in which people are conditioned. I'm not saying all books, but a lot of books are coming with belief systems. So you want to look at belief systems and disconnecting from belief systems that are misaligned. Okay? So how I do this for myself when I come up with a conflict, I will ask myself, oh, is this belief in alignment with God? Is this belief in alignment with creator energy? And if it's not, I simply readjust and I delete that. Crystal is saying, I've been to Belize a few times, and while they don't have material wealth, they are full of compassion, love, and care for everyone. Therefore, they are the richest people I've ever known. Yeah, abundance is not limited to financial gain. And I think that's what people are really conditioned into believing, that money makes people happy. I've worked with millionaires. I've worked with people who manage billion-dollar budgets. Their happiness is not connected to the financial system ever. Hello. Thank you for leaving this one. You are truly breathtakingly beautiful. Thank you for your compliment. Hello, London. Hey, Lee. Thank you. Man, do you ever support changing your inner desires to conform with the world? Man, I'm not sure how to answer that. Do I ever change how I am wired to conform with other aspects? Well, certainly I did when I was fully engaged in the ego mind in my younger years. But now my priority is to be in service to source and the natural laws, and to help people to align within themselves. That means that the 3D world, this third dimension, this physical world, is not what I am in service to. Does that answer your question? Thank you, Mike. How do I accept that my ex took my son and accused me of a false charge? Well, that would be a great, Leo, that's a great example of abuse of power. My oldest and I miss each other a lot, I bet. So how do you accept? Well, it's going to be very difficult to get to acceptance from the mind. And the mind is going to say, okay, I've been betrayed. So what you want to do is learn your lessons in relationship to betrayal, in relationship to abuse. And once you learn your lessons in relationship to that, I think you'll be able to align greater to acceptance, and you will be less likely to be polarized in your mind. And when you have that experience, it'll be easier for you to connect to your heart. And when you do that, you will see that your son has a soul lesson in this experience. You have a soul lesson in this experience, and so does your ex. You're not responsible for their soul lessons. You're not. You're responsible for finding peace within yourself. And when you align to that peace, your son will be drawn back to you organically. And he will see his mom how he needs to see his mom, without you speaking poorly about what she has done, which is a massive betrayal. But he's got to learn those lessons on his own. When you have an open heart, that resonance, that frequency will transcend all the abuse that she's done. Okay? So stay the course, stay into your heart, do the work, and you will be on the other side. I have no doubt. Luke is saying, Leo, my parents went through the same thing. Your actions are what your children will remember. When they're adults, they will choose who is in their life. You know, parents have a way of, this is a web, okay? The family web is one of the biggest and hardest illusions for children to contend with. And it's also one of the biggest wake-up calls that children need to contend with. It's not easy, and oftentimes children are put in the middle, which is why we had that video the other day. But it's important that children wake up and see the ways of their parents and choose to empower themselves in ways that their parents have been misaligned. And how do you empower yourself when you're in the web? You don't. You get sucked in every single time. So you can't be in the web and independent. You're going to be blinded by the illusions. I don't know how else to say that. How do you give interviews for a job when you are with a rude interviewer? That's probably a test. The interviewer is probably being rude to test you. So they're seeing how you respond to adverse experiences with people. So how do you respond to them? You respond to them from a heartfelt position. And then you decide, do you want to work with people who are like that? Oh, thank you, Luke. Oh, good. You guys are helping each other. I'll keep being the best dad you can be. Yeah, the best dad you can be will be in alignment to your heart. I promise you, your kids will feel that frequency, and it will overpower what the mother can do. That doesn't mean that your son won't choose to still be in alignment with the mother. So you're going to have to learn how to navigate when your child can't see what your mother's doing, because they don't want to see. Kids don't want to see their parents in those ways. And that denial of the truth is a painful one. And they can often get in relationships where they have to deny their own truths to stay in those relationships. Any questions about the abuse of power that I've missed? I'm not sure. Mel, I will talk with her. I'm learning while parenting, right? We all were. I was taught these things as a child, yes, to stay quiet or I'll make the problem worse. Well, see, Mel, this is exactly how it works. Like, we do what was done to us, and then as we become more aware, we can change our behaviors. But oftentimes we don't realize our behaviors until our children mirror them back to us. And it's okay to tell your daughter that you made a mistake and that you want to correct it, because that will empower her to, when she makes a mistake, to correct it too. And that if you say you're proud of her for sharing that information with you, she'll be more likely to share with you. And you could say and tell her exactly what you wrote here, that you were told to stay quiet as a kid and you realized that wasn't the best advice. What a beautiful learning and message for both of you. Please do not give the parasitic creeps in the chat any of your attention. You know, we just try to keep on moving. Okay, I'm just going to go until I get to the end of the questions. I walk with death, it haunts me, death is always alive. Well, that is the beast system. Go look it up. Go look it up and disconnect with it. It is why your mind is constantly thinking about death. So go look at that. Just looking for questions here. Hey, Zier, good to see you here. I am not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I am an energy consultant. I look like a doctor. Well, if you're trying to insult me, most people would take that as a compliment. I take that as an indoctrination. I'm not indoctrinated. Salvo, I wonder if the discordant comments in the chat have to do with the topics being in alignment with the natural laws and how many parasites come to dissuade people from alignment. That's what I think. And we're so lucky to have Oliver and Peter in the chats doing the best they can. Okay, I'm just scrolling for questions. Noel, I'm curious, any questions? Because you're so intellectual and you're talking about parasites, which is such an important aspect. And since you're researching, Noel, I want you to research parasitic cleanse and doing one. Because even though you're retired, doesn't mean that those parasites don't burrow into your colon, your small intestines, your liver, and you want to clean that out. So parasites of the mind are called hive mind, parasites of the body, and there's all different kinds of parasites. Doesn't matter what kind, they all siphon, okay? I have a smoothie on here, Smoothie for Life. If you're interested in a healthy one, but you could go find one somewhere else. Okay, I don't see any questions. Nola's asking, have I already done an episode on assertiveness? I don't believe I have. What angle? Because, you know, assertive is perception. Just like abuse is, really. But I see myself as assertive, whereas some people might see me as something else. I have been called so many names, you have no idea. So it's all based on perception. When you are in your power, that makes other people very uncomfortable. Why? Because people are used to being assimilated into an alignment of ways of being that are less than healthy. You can reach me at Kiannaa.com, Kiannaa. I think there's a link in the chat. Harish is saying, if you're a doctor, relatives make your life hell. Salvo, yes, they do a great job. A full-time job, Peter and Oliver, yes. What is my favorite city in the world? I don't know. I don't think of things in terms like that. My favorite city. I'm not a city girl. I prefer nature. So I'll say a tropical beach somewhere. Can you help me with a serious problem? I'm very depressed. I'm depressed because I do... Oh. It's not a real. Mike is asking a legit question here. Everybody listen up. The best method for clearing the mind is understanding your beliefs. You must know what it is that you're connected to in your beliefs, and that is addressing the mind. Also, the mind is going to go crazy when it's not connected to the heart. So you need to connect to your heart and then be aware of your beliefs and your ego. Okay, Tala is saying, I can't understand your channel's motive. Well, maybe this isn't the channel for you. Mel is saying, I'm going to look at that smoothie. My friend told me to clean and sage my dad's home and my home. So if you want to clear your space, Mel, I would suggest using, what is it? Is it 528 hertz? But not all are equal. So using ohms in your home, you want to use the frequency of the earth to clear your space. That would help. Hey, Lucas, good to see you back here. But intention will clear your space as well. If you have a strong command of your space, you can clear your space with your intention. Sage is good though too, smoke. Close friends or relatives sometimes play parasitic roles. True. Lucas is announcing he's back. Lucas, we're almost done here. I've been going. Okay, Mickey is saying, do I know about the mimic spirit? No. I'm guessing it's an imposter. No. I'm on a committee of a charity in a voluntary capacity. That was a meeting. I feel like I'm giving too much again. No, I wouldn't say, no. What is this charity? Is it somehow related to a religion? Is it somehow related to a medical system? And if so, you would exactly be correct. So are you giving too much? I would say you are vulnerable in your field because of what you used to do. And so having an awareness of that will help you disconnect, but it's going to be hard because these parasitic systems, they have different nefarious ways in which they tag energy fields, they siphon energy fields, they have like symbols that would be in your energy field that you would want to clear. I know that seems esoteric, but my guess is that you've been tagged. Especially if you worked within the medical system. Yeah, the beach is my favorite. Am I rich and famous? I don't think so. No. Am I a therapist? No, I do what's called energy psychology, the alignment of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies. We look at different topics every single day that might bring us out of alignment. Today's topic is the abuse of power, and I'm answering questions. So perhaps go to the beginning of the video. Any questions about the abuse of power or any aspect? What is energy? Energy is everything. Mike, thank you. Keep up the good work. You're an angel in the world. Oh, thank you. Just doing my job to be in service to one. I believe in the natural laws, the law of one, and the abuse of power would go against the natural laws. Talia, I would give you the suggestion of going back to any one of the videos in this series or on this channel to get more information. Okay, it looks like I've gone through all the questions. Muhammad is saying he is suicidal, and I would say, Muhammad, that type of violent action against the self or hate of the self is solely a disconnection from the heart. So you need to connect with your heart. You need to connect with the frequency of creation and know that we never die. So that's never an option. We are eternal beings of light. And so what's happened is you are disconnected from that light. So reconnect through the heart, and that will help you. How do we motivate ourselves to live? By being in alignment, by connecting with your heart. If you don't pray to anything, you want to pray to creation, to source energy, to God. You want to create a direct relationship with God from your heart. So whatever language you want to interpret that at, the energy of the heart is a portal that needs to be connected. That is creating a connection to your spiritual self, your highest potentials. And so when you connect with that from your heart, it will transmute that energy that is telling you that suicide is an actual option. Although I will also say that not all of us are going to make it through to the other side of this thing called life. And we all have our soul journey, and that journey would take you on a different path. I would suggest that that path is not one that is favorable, but I would support Mohammed that when you are, since you're on this channel, that you really are in a desperate state, and that you absolutely can learn to love yourself. And when you are connecting to creation, you will feel a force that will come through you and will work to mitigate those energies that are telling you that suicide is an option. Those are lies. Okay, so anything that's talking to you and telling you to do something like that, that's a lie. And those are the nefarious energies that are connected to parasitic cords. So I'd also say, do a cleanse of some kind, Muhammad. You need to cleanse your body. Cleanse your body. God is conscious energy. So, Talia, I don't know why you're saying energy is nothing. That doesn't even make sense. Yeah, I've been on here for a while, Lucas. It's my time to sign off. I hope that I gave you a different perspective on the abuse of power and parasitic cords, subconscious imprints, personal suffering patterns, and bonded patterns of communication are all ways in which the abuse of power occurs in an energetic perspective. I thank you all very much for your time. Salvo, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything, so it should be fine. Thank you all very much. My name is Kiannaa Sadge. I guide people to peace. I'm here every day from 12 to 3 p.m., sometime in between there. Put on your notifications if you subscribed and you're new here. Yes, Gary, you can be helped. Book a session. So I'm here every day from 12 to 3. Put on your notifications. Tomorrow I will be doing another topic that was presented from Peter. Peter, I'm going through your suggestions. I'm not sure the angle that I should address, but I'm going to go ahead and say, I think tomorrow I'm going to talk about the web of abuse. The web of abuse. And that will be the topic because it's so hard to get out of the web. Thank you so much, Noel, for being here. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, everybody, for watching and hanging on. Thank you, Mel. All of you. Salvo, I appreciate you being here. Hope you have a great night. I am Kiannaa Sadge, and I guide people to peace. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them after I end this video, and I will get back to you. Have a great day. Bye, y'all. Thank you.